In 2025, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, members of the Alliance of Sahel states, launched an ambitious railway mega project to connect their capitals, Ouagadougou, Bamako and Niamey. But this is more than transport. This is a power move.
Burkina Faso's railway revolution, building freedom, not just tracks. Burkina Faso is laying more than just rails. It's laying down a future, in a move few thought possible. Just a few years ago, the West African nation has begun a bold and massive transformation, reviving and extending its railway system. But this isn't just about transportation. It's about rewriting what it means to be landlocked, poor and dependent. It's about sovereignty through steel. The government is investing heavily to modernize old colonial railway lines that once served foreign extraction but never African integration. The goal is simple: to connect major cities, move goods faster, ease road congestion, and reshape trade routes that have long put African producers at a disadvantage. But something bigger is happening. For the first time, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have come together to create the largest railway project in African history. A rail system that stretches across borders, reaches deep into mining zones, and connects all three landlocked capitals, Ouagadougou, Bamako and Niamey. It's a powerful signal. These nations aren't waiting for permission anymore. They're building what they need on their own terms. Burkina Faso took the first step. It didn't wait for international lenders or development conferences. It drafted the plan, secured funding from regional partners, and mobilized engineers and workers without delay. President Ibrahim Traoré didn't just approve the blueprint, he bulldozed red tape, got boots on the ground, and made it clear: the days of waiting for handouts are over. This isn't nostalgia for colonial rail. It's a new model: modern tracks, freight corridors, smart hubs, plans for electrification, and digital logistics. What once served foreign companies now serves local economies. What once extracted value now spreads it, and the impact is already visible. Steel factories in Bobo Dioulasso are operating around the clock. Local tech startups in Koudougou are designing rail tracking apps. Civil engineers, drivers, welders and surveyors, many of them young and unemployed just months ago, now have careers with real futures. In small towns and villages, informal economies are springing to life. Food vendors serve thousands of railway workers, mechanics repair offloaded machinery, seamstresses are sewing uniforms for new rail staff. This isn't trickle-down development, it's a full surge. The project is injecting income directly into rural and urban communities alike. It's building both the economy and the pride of a people long told they had to wait their turn. Now they're taking it. More than anything, the railway is breaking isolation. It's connecting farmers, miners, traders and manufacturers to each other and to the coast. Copper from Niger, gold from Mali, cotton and corn from Burkina Faso. What once took weeks to ship by road can now move across borders in days at a fraction of the cost. But the biggest shift is psychological. Burkina Faso, long dismissed as an aid-reliant nation, is showing what it means to be land-linked rather than landlocked. Instead of being defined by its borders, it's becoming a bridge, not just for itself, but for its neighbours. And it's doing it without the usual strings attached. This time, it's not France, it's not the IMF, it's not Beijing. The railway is being financed, largely through African development banks, sovereign wealth funds, and local public-private partnerships. That means the decisions about routes, labour, procurement are being made in Ouagadougou, not overseas. And that's not just financial independence, that's leverage. For over a century, the West built Africa's railroads to get goods out of the continent: gold, rubber, cotton, straight to the ports. Those lines didn't connect Africans to each other. They weren't built to strengthen African economies, they were built to serve colonial profits. But this project, it's different. It's Pan-African at its core, designed to connect capitals, not colonizers, structured to strengthen trade between neighbors, not dependency on former empires. Ouagadougou to Niamey to Bamako. It's more than a triangle on a map. It's a political statement, a united front, a refusal to wait for someone else to decide when the region gets to develop. And while Mali and Niger are full partners, it's Burkina Faso that's leading the charge, the initiator, the engine. It's not just about economics either, it's about security. The Sahel region has been plagued by instability, terrorism, and armed insurgencies for years. Foreign military interventions have come and gone, often leaving little behind. Burkina Faso is trying something different. Where bombs and boots failed, it's turning to infrastructure. It's betting that development, inclusion, and jobs are stronger weapons than drones and fighter jets. In the north, once a hotspot for militant recruitment, reports are emerging that young men are trading rifles for welding torches. They're being trained to become technicians, train operators, mechanics. These are not temporary handouts, they're career paths, their identity, their stability, the kind of stability that outlasts any military operation. And there's a strategic edge too. With rails in place, the government can move aid, fuel, medicine, and emergency services faster than ever before. Response time shrinks, supply chains stretch, vulnerable zones become reachable. That's not just infrastructure, that's national resilience, but maybe the most powerful change is cultural. For decades, African development has followed a familiar script. Foreign experts, foreign money, foreign rules. The people on the ground were often just extras in their own story. But today, Burkina Faso is flipping the script. It's not just laying tracks, it's laying claim to its own narrative. The sounds of welding and track laying aren't just industrial noise. They're a soundtrack of transformation. They tell a story of a country and a region choosing its own path, of people building instead of begging, of nations rising not in pieces but together. And it's just getting started. In the heart of the Sahel, where headlines often focus on insurgency, hunger and chaos, something different is happening. Burkina Faso is laying down tracks, steel rails that cut through dust, doubt, and decades of abandonment. But these aren't just transportation routes. They're lines of defense. In a region where conflict has long been the norm, this railway project is doing something military campaigns and foreign missions haven't been able to do. It's bringing real, lasting stability from the ground up. Security for most governments has meant weapons, checkpoints and troop deployments. For Burkina Faso, it also means welding torches, concrete ties and train stations. The government is betting on a bold idea, that when people have something to build, something to belong to and something to believe in, they put down their arms. And the signs are there. In towns across northern Burkina Faso, regions once branded as unsafe, ungoverned, unreachable, new rhythms are taking over. Trains rumble in the distance. Markets spring up near construction sites. Local leaders are reporting something unexpected, a sharp drop in youth recruitment by terror groups. Why? Because those same young men now have uniforms, not of militias, but of rail companies. They're not hiding in the bush. They're clocking in on job sites, learning trades, earning wages, sending money home. For the first time, they're not just surviving, they're participating. This is more than a development project, it's a peace strategy built on pride and ownership. It's hard to sell rebellion to someone who's helping build the future of their country. And when the state invests in your community, not with threats, but with opportunity, it changes everything. But there's also a tactical advantage. The railway gives the government something it's never had before. Reach. Supply chains are no longer hostage to crumbling roads and hostile terrain. With the rails in place, aid can be deployed quickly. Fuel shortages can be addressed before they become emergencies. Security forces can move faster and more efficiently. And when floods hit or food needs to be delivered, trains will get there long before trucks ever could. That's not just about logistics, it's about saving lives. Every station, every depot, every rail yard is becoming a new node of government presence, a foothold in areas that were once out of reach. This is state building in motion, literally, and the symbolism isn't lost on the people. For decades, they've seen outsiders come and go, peacekeepers, NGOs, foreign soldiers, bringing promises that rarely lasted. Now they see something different, something permanent, something theirs. The railway is not an imported solution, it's a homegrown one, designed by Africans, funded largely by African banks, built by local workers. The message is clear: Burkina Faso isn't just asking to be heard, it's proving it knows exactly what it needs. Not foreign boots, not new aid packages, but tools, jobs, ownership, and at the centre of it all is President Ibrahim Traoré, a leader not known for flashy speeches or international handshakes, but for pushing ahead with quiet resolve. He didn't fly to Western capitals asking for help. He stayed home, cleared the path, and got to work. The ink was barely dry on the tripartite agreement with Mali and Niger before the first bulldozers rolled in. Within weeks, construction crews were in motion. This wasn't another drawn-out feasibility study or white paper gathering dust, it was action, and that action is creating ripple effects far beyond the tracks. In cities like Bobo-Dioulasso and Koudougou, small businesses are booming. Welding shops, logistics firms, cement suppliers, and even food vendors are scaling up to meet demand. Textile producers are stitching uniforms for rail workers. Mechanics are servicing rail equipment. Coders are writing apps for train schedules and cargo tracking. Even the informal economy, which supports more than 80% of Burkina Faso's population, is seeing a boost. Every job site becomes a marketplace. Every rest stop brings a new chance to earn. The idea of trickle-down economics has never worked here. But what's happening now isn't a trickle, it's a surge. Development that spreads outward instead of dripping downward. And it's reaching places the government had long struggled to serve. Remote regions that once felt forgotten now feel like they matter. That's not just economic development, that's national inclusion. But there are still skeptics. Some international observers question whether Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, three of the poorest nations on the continent, can actually fund and maintain such a large-scale project. Others point to ongoing security challenges and political instability as potential obstacles. Those concerns aren't unfounded. The road or rail is long, and the region still faces threats. But the difference this time is that the people aren't watching from the sidelines. They're involved, and they're invested. There's something powerful about watching your neighbour pour concrete for a new platform, or seeing your cousin become a certified rail technician, or hearing a train whistle through a town that hadn't seen change in decades. It signals that something is shifting, that maybe, finally, development isn't just a word tossed around in donor reports. It's real, and it's moving fast. And this movement is rooted in something deeper than economics. It's about narrative. For too long, Burkina Faso has been painted with a single brush: poor, unstable, aid-dependent. But this project flips that story. It says, we're capable, we're strategic, we're ready. It's about legacy too. Railroads are more than infrastructure. They're symbols of reach, of ambition, of connection, and of control. For over a century, African railroads were built for one reason: to take, to remove resources and ship them to colonial powers. The tracks ran one way from mines to ports. The people weren't part of that design, now they are. This isn't a system that extracts, it includes. It links communities to each other, not to distant capitals overseas, but to neighbours, markets and opportunities right here. It's not about exporting Africa's wealth anymore, it's about sharing it among Africans, and that may be the most revolutionary thing of all. Burkina Faso, once seen as a landlocked burden, is now positioning itself as a regional junction, not just in geography, but in leadership. And it's not trying to catch up with the world, it's building something new, something it leads. And the people, they're not passengers anymore, they're laying the tracks. Step back for a moment and look beyond the borders. What's happening in Burkina Faso right now isn't just about one country. It's not even just about three. It's about a continent choosing to stand up, link arms and move forward on its own steel, powered by its own people. This railway, stretching from Ouagadougou through Niamey to Bamako, is more than infrastructure. It's the physical manifestation of a political idea: African unity, not just in slogans but in steel, not just in speeches but in stations, timetables and trains that cross borders without stopping for permission from anyone outside. For the first time in modern African history, three landlocked nations, often written off by analysts and ignored by global investors, are building a shared future that puts them at the center of a new regional economy, not on the sidelines, not as aid recipients, but as decision makers, builders, and partners. Burkina Faso is leading this charge, not as a client state, not as a pawn, but as the driver. The vision came from Ouagadougou. The first engines rolled out from its soil, the first welds sparked under its sun, and the message is clear. We are not waiting for permission. We are not waiting for the world to notice. We are already moving, and the movement is contagious. Plans are already underway to expand westward to Côte d'Ivoire's Atlantic ports. Talks are in motion to stretch eastward into Chad and potentially connect with Sudan's routes. What started as a Sahelian triangle could soon evolve into a continental freight web, a true trans-African rail artery. That means real power, real prestige, not borrowed influence but earned relevance. Because when you control the movement of goods, you control value. And when you connect nations, you build peace. That's what this is about. This isn't just geopolitics, it's geography being redrawn by African hands. For decades, Africa's borders were drawn to divide by colonial rulers who never meant for neighbors to trade, cooperate, or thrive together. Railroads were designed to pull everything outward, toward the ports, toward the ships, toward Europe. But this project flips that legacy on its head. These tracks don't run from a mine to a boat. They run between nations, they run between communities, they run toward the future, and they carry something just as valuable as copper or gold: pride. In schoolyards and city squares, children now point to trains and say, "We built that." In boardrooms and rural workshops, people say, "We're part of this." That matters, because for too long, Africans have watched their futures shaped by distant decisions. Now they're making their own. And this shift is cultural, not just economic. It's a shift from dependency to self-reliance, from extraction to inclusion, from silence to sovereignty. And that's why this railway matters so much more than it looks on a map. It's easy to talk about kilometers of track. It's harder to measure the psychological distance covered when a nation goes from being called landlocked to becoming a central hub. When a country that once depended on crumbling roads and fickle foreign aid becomes the one building the highway of the future for itself and others. That's transformation, that's leadership, and it's being noticed. Across Africa, other governments are watching, other regions are thinking, if Burkina Faso can do this without waiting for Paris, Washington, or Beijing, what's stopping us? The idea that Africa must wait for outside investment, outside approval, or outside direction is fading. In its place, a new generation of leaders, engineers, and workers is writing a different script, one that starts with self-respect and ends with sovereignty. Of course, the challenges remain. Security threats still loom. The financing model needs constant attention. Maintenance, governance, transparency all require vigilance. But here's the truth. No revolution is easy. No movement is smooth. Steel doesn't bend itself, and vision doesn't execute on its own. It takes commitment, it takes courage, it takes clarity of purpose, and Burkina Faso, through all odds, is showing it has all three. This railway isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning, a steel-threaded spine running through the Sahel, extending outward to ports, crossing borders, defying expectations. It will carry more than goods. It will carry ideas, relationships, ambition. It will carry farmers to markets, students to schools, families to jobs. It will carry hope where hopelessness once lived. And it will carry pride, the kind you can't buy, the kind you build 1 kilometer at a time. Because in the end, this isn't just a railway, it's a revolution on rails. A revolution where Africa stops waiting to be developed and starts developing itself, where old narratives are thrown out and new ones forged in heat, sweat, and belief, where young men and women no longer flee to foreign shores but stay to build their homeland, where decisions are made in African languages, in African cities for African futures. And the train? It's already moving, not slowly, not cautiously, but with purpose, with speed, with a whistle loud enough to wake up a continent. So the question is, are we watching closely enough? Because if you believe in Africa rising, not as a talking point but as a reality, then this is the moment to pay attention. This is the blueprint. This is the prototype. This is what taking back your future actually looks like. And if this story moved you, we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Like this video if you believe in African-led development. Share it with someone who needs to see what's truly happening on the continent. And most importantly, Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of these bold, history-making stories as they unfold. Africa is not standing still, it's on the move, and there's no turning back.